Well, hello there. Welcome to the Obithorian Alliance. I'm Jacob.
And I'm Luke.
And in today's video, we are reviewing Dead Reckoning Part 1. If you like the sound of that, like and subscribe and comment down your thoughts.
So, tell me about this movie. What is it essentially?
It's basically, as I said, part 1 of a part of the next part being part 2, and it's the 7th film of the franchise.
And who's in this movie?
Tom Cruise, Simon Pegg.
And we've got Hayley Atwell playing Grace and Rebecca Ferguson playing Elsa. And when did this movie get released?
This year, and it came out in cinemas 2 weeks ago.
And when are we expecting to get the next part? Do you know?
2024.
Okay, so hard movie to summarize. It's a bit complex from my opinion, but I'll leave it to you. How about you summarize it for me? What happens in this movie?
Basically, the concept is AI is a thing, and all governments and world leaders want it, and it's Ian Hunt's job to find it and destroy it, but his government doesn't want him to do that, so the American government want to stop him from doing that, and then you got the AI has a person trying to hunt him down, so you have people hunting each other, so it makes for an interesting plot, but it can be very complex to understand as well.
Yeah, it's very in-depth idea, but it's very relevant to today with what's going on with AI. So AI supercomputer, everyone wants to possess it, or they want this key but they don't know really what it does. Ethan's in a predicament where he's been asked to, 1, get the key, 2, use that key as leverage to get the other half of the key, and then from that work out who else wants the key, and then through that hopefully find out what the key does. So we go on this journey of them doing all those things and finding out what the key does, which leaves us to what part 2 will be, which will be ultimately destroying the computer. And as you said, the US government, just like the bad guys, want to possess it to help themselves, where Ethan wants to do the right thing and basically destroy it so no one can do bad with it. So setting up for quite a epic part 2. So let's move into our scoring. So what did you give the plot for this movie?
I gave this an 8. Personally, I really enjoyed the plot. Like with all Mission Impossible films, the plot is there to have the stakes, but it's more the stunts and thrill rides and the action scenes that you're going to watch the film for. But I personally really enjoyed the plot, but I don't think it would be for everyone.
I gave the plot a 7.5. I think it was really unique, which I'll talk about later, but it was kind of complex and confusing. Being someone that hadn't seen the other films, maybe that's why. But coming from reviewing it from the stance of someone that this being their first look at Mission Impossible, it's a 7.5, where Jacob's obviously seen the others, so it will make a bit more sense to him. What about the characters?
For me, this was a 9. I have seen all the Mission Impossibles, so I've been through their journey. I have really enjoyed the character development going through these movies. And for me, with Ian Hunt, I buy his choice for him. He always wants to do the right thing. He puts his team members first, and I really look forward to see the outcome of what he decides for the last part. Yeah.
So I gave it a 7 for the characters, only because I didn't have that, pre-built up knowledge of who they were. I just saw it as Tom Cruise. He's a bit old. I don't buy he could actually do all the things he does. Yes, I know he did his own stunts, but he wasn't actually fighting villains, and you didn't probably jump on a moving train. But so the characters to me didn't have anything to them. It was kind of like just a cocky man that was, had an allure over women and was able to fight bad guys without really understanding how or where his training came from. So I gave it a 7. What about the experience?
For me, this is a 10. Best action film for the year so far. The stunts, every scene is a masterpiece. Very engaged throughout the movie. When the movie was finished for me, it didn't feel like 3 hours. very entertained, and I would highly recommend if you're an action buff and you love each action scene very different and unique. Highly recommend this movie for that.
So I gave it an 8 for the experience, mainly because yes, the action scenes were good, but there was lots. I felt I was trying to comprehend and work out what was going on with the plot, but at the same time being overwhelmed with all the action. So I maybe would have liked a little bit more dialogue or explanation of the plot to keep me going. So being like bang, 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 all this right in front of me. But it was still great nonetheless. What about the presentation?
For me, this gets a 9. All the visuals with the stunt scenes and everything, really enjoyed the direction with the directors, with his choice of how to direct the film and all the visual effects, very a masterclass, and really enjoyed how the film visually looked. I thought was very spectacular as well.
Yeah, I gave the presentation an 8. I think it was great. The way they did all the scenes, you could tell that it wasn't... A lot of it happened and it wasn't too much CGI. I think also going in knowing Tom Cruise does his own stunts actually adds a lot more to it because you watch it and you notice that. For instance, there's a scene where a train is hanging over a ledge. I know that that didn't happen. They would have had, a train or a platform tipped inside a studio and he was climbing, but you know that he was doing that, which just added another element to it. So it presented really, really well. So an 8 for me. What about the ending?
For me, I actually really enjoyed the ending because they concluded this movie, but they ended it in a way that they needed a part 2. Unlike Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse that ended mid-scene in a cliffhanger, this story concluded and it leaves you wanting more, I think is a better way to do it. So it definitely deserved 9 for the ending.
So I gave the ending an 8, very much the same for Jacob, Having a cliffhanger can work sometimes, but if you know you've got to wait a few years for it to come out, it's a bit annoying. We're here, we've left, we have a conclusion, but we're wanting to know what happens next. We're not wondering what happens, like, oh no, he's caught by the bad guy, is he going to be killed? It's, okay, he's completed part of his mission, now we got to wait to see the next part. So it's quite a nice way to break it into 2 parts. So I gave it an 8. What about the originality?
For me as a fan, this gets a 7, the originality. I've seen they put in Ethan Hunt in dangerous situation. The stakes are really high, but he always completes this mission. But I think this is original because this is a 2-parter. So apparently this is the final 2. We'll see about that, but for me, it's not as original because I've seen him go against the odds and always win. So, but it is original that it's a 2-parter.
I gave it an 8.5 for originality. This is probably the only area that I gave higher than Jacob because I thought, well, maybe because I haven't seen the others, so I can't compare it. But it's more I liked their twist on the AI. We're seeing this a lot in movies more recently or even shows, but this was just a bit of a different twist on it. I liked that this entity could predict what was going to happen and it could advise someone what to do. It was able to change, manipulate footage. It was even able to get a submarine to imagine another enemy sub that wasn't there and cause it to blow itself up. It was just something different in a world in an idea that's not unique. It made it original, which is really cool. So an 8.5. What about the X Factor? Was it worth watching?
For me, this gets an 8. Knowing that Tom Cruise does his own stunts, it gives me, knowing that he does it is good knowing because he wants you to be entertained, and that's what is great about this movie for the X Factor is that it is an action movie and it's a spectacular visual masterpiece. The story might be convoluted and confusing, but what you pay for is seeing Tom Cruise do stunts and be amazed by them, and I think that's what you're going to get with this film, and for that, it definitely delivers.
I gave the X Factor a 7, mainly because I think if you're already a fan, you're heavily invested, you're going to go see it. I think that's what happens with the Fast and Furious movies. People are like, oh, I'm 10 movies in, I may as well see the next. So for someone that hadn't seen any, I went to see it because I wanted to review it, and I like to see most movies that come out. But if I didn't have to go see it, I probably wouldn't have went and seen it. I wouldn't have felt that I missed out on anything. Also, being really, really long, being nearly a 3-hour movie, it was, as a neutral fan or a new fan, it was hard to want to sit through your first experience being that long. So X Factor wise, purely because I don't have the past experience, it's going to score low. But as I said, Jacob's already, this is his 7th movie. He's pretty invested. You want to go see it because you're already so far in.
Indeed.
So what was your final tally?
Out of 100%, it gets 86%. Well deserved, that score. It doesn't quite get it the 90%, but that's only been 3 movies so far. I think part 2 could get there as well, because that will be the finished product. This isn't quite a finished product, and I think that's why for me it doesn't quite nail the 90%. But overall, definitely highly recommend this film. The best action movie for the year so far, and highly caliber movie.
Mine added up to 77%. That may seem a bit low and might seem disrespectful, but I acknowledge it was a good film. I enjoyed it. It's made me intrigued to go back and watch the others, but I can only give it based on what I saw, and having not seen the others, that's what it comes out. But now I'm intrigued to go back and watch the others, which maybe if I review it in the future, maybe it might get a different score.
Fair enough. Comment down your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, you're awesome and keep being awesome. Like and subscribe, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.